Your website is the mousetrap. Your content is the cheese. Welcome to Content Matters with Barry Feldman and Andy Crestodina.
Some content gets really, really great results. Other content, nothing at all. And that difference, that huge difference, is really evidenced in one place. It's in the numbers. It's in the analytics. It's in the data. It's in the metrics. And that's the subject of today's show because content marketing metrics matter.
You people are some lucky people. You have Mr. Crestodina here who knows more about this topic than most of humankind. But what's interesting here is we're going to talk about and refer to a blog post that I wrote for Orbit Media because I think content marketing metrics matter. You certainly have to agree with it, what Andy said at the top of the show, but they also scare the crap out of a lot of people. So, and then when you dive deep into a demonstration of analytical tools, then you get even more scared. And so I wrote this post to say, don't be afraid. There's a handful of things that are not real hard to analyze.
That's right. And a lot of the numbers are super visible. We're not even necessarily going to be, we're going to talk about it, of course, but this isn't a show about analytics. This is a show about metrics, which go beyond analytics. And there's data all over the place. And it actually jumps out at you. I think that anyone who publishes anything and shares it somewhere gets some visibility. And that's partly why social media is so addictive, because of that feedback that you get when that thing gets shared or talked about or commented or liked or whatever. So, we're talking about metrics in the big picture. And we've got a short list here, and we're going to take it from the top. And the first things here are kind of the very, very top of the funnel, more about just general visibility, as in general brand awareness, starting with website traffic.
Yeah, you got to have to get into this. You got to have kind of the no duh section, and I think I am tasked with creating web traffic for people because I'm a content creator and digital marketing consultant, and you are, and your team is because you create websites. And the people's complaints about what's going wrong with their online marketing is usually begins with nobody goes to my website. So it's lickety split easy to set up Google Analytics and gauge a number and then make that number go up. You've shown people in your presentations and in this post, it's also easy to compare it for year over year and various time intervals. So I think while you can't feed the family because people visited your website, you always say where there's traffic, there's hope. You can't do anything with your website if nobody's on it.
That's right. Where there's traffic, there's hope. So we need to have some visitors. But this is really just the top line, obviously. Just like you said, it's not revenue, it's not leads, it's not demand. You can't live on it. But there's a lot of marketers out there, and it's perfectly legit to have brand awareness and visibility and that brand touch point as a goal. And there's nothing at all wrong with the PR teams and the social media teams who are not necessarily driving leads, but who do create visibility. And without that, nothing else works. I mean, those website visitors give you data that'll help you iterate and improve later. Those website visitors give you the chance to cookie that visitor and do remarketing for them later. Like, lots of good things can happen. So we need traffic. So yeah, obviously you can measure the traffic from a specific piece of content that's in your all pages report. You can measure traffic from a specific channel that's in your channels report, what's working social or email or search. So yeah, I think that makes sense. It's kind of a no duh, but we're not saying it's sufficient, but we're also not at all downplaying it, saying that that's not important.
Yeah, also, like in a proxy sort of way, you can do it without even getting into Google Analytics by looking at Alexa rankings or similar web rankings. How often do you do that? I probably do that every day. Should I work with these people? Should I write for this blog post? I want to see where they rank in the massive scheme of websites.
Yeah, those two tools you mentioned, SimilarWeb and Alexa. We have friends at Alexa. There's other tools like that. It's amazing engineering that those things work. Basically, they're ranking every website on the internet in order from 1 to a gazillion. and and you can look at that, and it's a quick way to get us, and people pay attention to it. Those are valuable metrics. A lot of people put a lot of stock in them. And let's say, for example, you're doing some PR and you're targeting different options, and you look at the Alexa ranking is the best we got when we look at certain websites to get a sense for whether or not that site is highly trafficked or important in that niche. So yeah, I think those website traffic is sometimes just estimated, and Alexa and similar web are good ways to do that.
All right, numero dos is subscriber growth, and certainly Andy and I bond closely on the idea that you need email subscribers, and I think the longer your sales cycle, the more you need them, so it's always on the tip of the tongue in conversations about B2B marketing,
Mm-hmm.
but it certainly doesn't exclude any form of marketing. People are online, and a lot of them are email junkies, and that's how they learn about sales and incentives and bonuses,
Mm-hmm.
whatever.
Yeah.
And so I think provided that you are an email marketer, and you should be, a very simple measure of your success with your content is going to be the growth of your subscribers. So you want that to go north, like most subscribers.
Exactly right. And we are all kind of obsessed with this number, subscriber growth. And the reason is, I'm going to use a word that I would never use in marketing, but I use when I teach. It's disintermediation. Subscriber growth and email subscribers are valuable because there's no barrier between you. There's no company in between you and your audience. Facebook, Google, LinkedIn, Twitter, flavor of the month, social media network, or search engine. These are companies, private, for-profit companies in between, public companies in between you and your audience. But once that visitor subscribes, you now have permission to reach them directly. That's why we are all of them, every hardcore marketer I know is totally obsessed with list growth.
Yep. All right. We got 10 of these, I think. Number 3 is search rankings. Now, I should probably hand this over to you. Probably a lot of people don't know how to gauge that quickly, but it's not all that difficult. And, if you're going to succeed long-term and get the biggest bang for your buck, as you'll often hear from Mr. Crestodina, you're going to want to rule in SEO. And so search rankings are all important.
Yeah, this is almost like the tippy top of the funnel. This is above the funnel in a way, right? Ranking is not necessarily even traffic, but rankings are often very durable. So we really are strongly biased toward search marketing and organic search, because if you're winning for a phrase or a topic, you'll probably get a steady stream of traffic from that for a long period of time, assuming it's a phrase with some search volume. It is in your acquisition Search Console queries report in analytics, shows you every phrase you rank for. Or if you want to see the pages that are ranking, it's in your acquisition Search Console landing pages report. Those reports don't show you how long the visitor stays on the site if they click through, but it does show you the number of impressions, how many times it was seen in search. It shows you the click-through rate, what percentage of visitors clicked on it. It shows you the average position, which is the average rank over the date range of that report. So yeah, it's a big one, and we care a lot, and smart marketers don't use it as general metric. You're probably looking at the specific rank for a specific URL and working on that specific key phrase or topic, knowing that a little bit of improvement can move you up a little bit in search, which can generate a lot more traffic. So yeah, it's a good one.
Yeah, so it's a few layers deep in Google Analytics. No big deal to figure out what to do what Andy just said, but it's also a popular function in some of the paid SEO tools. People, probably one of their biggest questions is, how do I rank for this, and what do I rank for, and what do my competitors rank for? So you'll find tools like that. Perhaps we're graduating from Metrics 101 to Metrics 102 if we're insisting that you buy search engine products or search marketing products. But search engine rankings can be extracted from Google Analytics and many, many more tools. And of course, you can just go do a search. See if you're right.
Yep.
It's sort of the slow way, but
yeah, incognito search, logged out search. We're let's power through some of the next ones here. What else we got?
We got time. And we're like, time? What's time? What does time mean? Well, Google Analytics tells you whether people are spending time on your page and your website. And I think, as a content marketer, you specifically want to know how much time are they spending on this page. And so there's a little bit of a wrinkle in there, because if it's a short page, that's going to skew the results. If it's a 60-second video and they were there for 60 seconds, I think you did good. But
Mm-hmm.
You should look at time because you're writing posts that take X amount of time to read. In the case of Orbit Media's blog, it predicts how much time it's going to take you to read, based on average read speed.
Mm-hmm.
And so, if you're comparing apples to apples, this is a 1,000-word post versus this is a 1,000-word post. The time spent consuming the post is like a new media cool number that traditional media companies such as newspapers and magazines never could fathom having access to.
Right. And it correlates with love. Maybe that audience is enjoying the piece. It's a metric you can use to inform your content strategy and maybe what to do a bit more of next time around.
Yep. So to look at that, Contently talks about that all the time. They sort of introduced the idea that it's more important than anything, right? Because you're trying to figure out whether your content's engaging, and you can't figure that out without, I don't know, time or scroll or something. Let's not go down the scroll path. Okay, number 5, social media followers. Now this one gets a bad rap, because people that are analytical say that, this is a vanity metric. Who cares how many people like your Facebook page? But I think if you create content and you distribute it on social media, you're doing that so that you reach more people, and those are called followers, or fans. And so I think you do want to keep an eye on that and toss that into your dashboard.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and the other reason why we are cynical or skeptical about this is that are they people? There's certainly a lot of spam out there. There's a lot of robots, a lot of fake accounts. So it's not. Amazingly, what the social media networks kind of did just through their design, it's kind of gamified the whole thing. No one talks about this that much, but really social media networks are very much like, they turn themselves into games because that score, LinkedIn decided not to play the game and you get to 500 followers or connections and it just says 500 plus. Purposely trying to maintain integrity by purposely making that number less visible, or obscuring it completely almost, and you can't. And turning off that kind of game aspect of just building a big fake audience. So, but yeah, I think it is an important metric, and it's actually one of the most visible. So I'm glad to see it here on the list.
It works, Andy. I have 2 teenage daughters, as you know, and when they put a picture on Instagram, they obsess for the next 3 days about how many hearts they get.
That's right, and you've got that here next, right? Social media shares, likes, comments, all those general engagement metrics. They're they risk being a bit lazy because they're so visible that you can look at those and feel like you're doing marketing when really they're often not really correlating with a good KPI or goal. It's a long road between that little heart on Instagram and making money as a business. It's not irrelevant, but it is a very indirect path toward demand.
Well, social media shares, it's kind of my list. When I created it, I had to put it on there. I'm probably overly obsessed with it, but to me, it's like if your stuff is not being shared, either you're not doing social media, or people don't like what you're doing.
That's a really good point and a good way to look at it. It's like just as like a binary yes, no, yes, there was some engagement on this, not as in like 22 likes is so much better than 16. Like that's not the point. But are you getting some traction here? Is it connecting in some way? It's a tiny bit of feedback that shows you whether that topic or that post or that timing or that format kind of worked at the time. Good enough, So it's not like we're not basing our strategy on it, but it's a bit of feedback that can be useful as a content marketer.
Well, we always talk about BuzzSumo, and I think you can base your strategy on it. You can go, all right, 22 versus 16, whatever, but 2,200, it's like, well, I touched the nerve with this, or my competitors did. This is a worthwhile topic matter.
True.
Okay, so we have a 10-pack, and we're probably running late. Number 7 is links and authority. So go for it, Andy. That's kind of the more analytical variety. Yeah,
I'll give you this first from the perspective of like a PR person, like modern day digital PR. You're looking for the press mention. In other words, there's some place, some site, some blog, some media outlet that has large audience. If you get mentioned there, great. That's good news, right? You just became more visible. The search angle, the SEO angle on that is that some big authority website, blog, media outlet, newspaper, whoever. If they mention you, good. If they link to you as well, that's a durable benefit that passes some amount of their authority to you and makes your site more credible, more likely to rank in the future. That's how, link popularity, and especially links from super high authority websites, is part of that equation that leads to your site being credible and ranking. So people who are serious about SEO pay a lot of attention to links and mentions from other websites and watch their authority very closely. I keep saying authority. Let me be more specific. Google no longer has a metric that's visible to any of us that indicates the amount of credibility your website has. So other companies like Ahrefs and Moz have made their own. Ahrefs is called domain rating. Moz's metric is called domain authority. This is their own. This is a Moz thing, right? It's domain authority, capital D, capital A. It's a scale of 1 to 100 that says roughly how credible your website is. It says roughly how valuable a link from another website is. And people who are serious about search and try to make a living from generating demand from Google, they pay a lot of attention to that. So it's important. It's on here. It's not just important, but it's an obsession. It's a content marketing metric that some marketers truly obsess over.
Yeah. I mean, there's a lot of ways to say, what is and isn't authoritative, but we're talking about metrics. And so, I would say for free, get the Moz bar installed on your browser and click that, and that'll answer the question about the domain authority of that specific site and specific page. And then for links, there's a number of ways to do that. BuzzSumo includes that now. So after your posts get a little bit of traction, you can take a look at whether you've got links or at least the number of them. But you can also trace that down in Moz, and there's a number of ways to do that. We talk in the post about just monitoring them on a daily basis with tools, often free, like a TalkWalker. And
good one. TalkWalker Alerts, great tool. It tracks mentions of you and your brand name across all different websites. Highly recommend, if you haven't done it yet, setting up a TalkWalker alert for your brand name. Someone mentions you somewhere, you'll see it. If they didn't link, you can request a link if you're sensitive about that, or if you're or shows you if you're being linked to from some other website.
Yeah, and Brand24 does that, and that flies across social. I actually like their tool a little more, but thanks to you, I did start monitoring the daily link thing because of TalkWalker. All right, number 8 is click-through rate. This is a good one. This is, Andy and I collaborate on this post, and obviously we do so every time we talk to you. And Andy threw this one in there, and we agreed that if you can measure one of these, this is the one. And so I'm going to again hand it off to you to talk to us about how.
Yeah, this is like Lord of the Rings. It's the one metric to rule them all. In a way, if you can be a pro at one thing, you want that one thing to be the one thing that Barry's very good at. It's about writing headlines that people pay attention to, headlines with stopping power that get attention, headlines with that trigger action, getting the click, because the click-through rate will affect your effectiveness in search optimization. Did they click through from the search results page? Social media. Did they click through to you from the social media stream? Email marketing. Did they click through to you from the crowded email inbox? So the problem with click-through rate, though, even though it is just an amazingly useful and powerful skill that transcends all individual channels, is that it isn't shown in just one place. I'm not even sure where to find it on social media. I think Facebook Insights might have it if you boosted a post or something. I don't really know. Email marketing, obviously, you can definitely see the click-through rate. It's in your email metrics. It's one of the 2 most visible numbers. Click-to-open rate is even more valuable because it shows the percentage of people who clicked after opening the email. Click-through rate normally doesn't exclude the people who didn't even see the link because they didn't even open the email. And then finally, click-through rate from search, you could, I already mentioned where that report would be. That's in Google Analytics, acquisition, Search Console, queries. So it's in there, but you got to kind of piece it together. But well worth it, because if you've got certain headlines that are exceeding the expected click-through rate, well, you got a winner. If you've got some that are underperforming, tweak those up, maybe work on that, improve it a bit for next time.
Yeah, you might have to change the name of what we're talking about on social if you wanted to do some of the things I'm about to say, because it might not be a rate in terms of percentage, but you could get information about clicks probably across any of the insights that any of the channels offer you, and you can get that sort of information from Cloud. and you can get some of that information from Buffer. Like Buffer analyzes everything that you put up on Twitter. I mean, maybe other channels too. But I'm usually looking at Twitter, but I know when I've done my distribution via Buffer whether people shared it or clicked it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and that's that'll give you an idea for what's working with your audience, and maybe how to write a Barry Feldman style headline for next time.
All right, number 9 is leads. This is an interesting topic because I'm afraid to get Andy started here because he's got a little bit of a rant on that, and I suppose it's fair because having somebody's email address probably isn't a lead.
No,
although there are some voices of authority that might say otherwise, but a lead is in the eyes of the beholder. We already talked about subscriber rate, so let's move on and say, a lead is something else. They're coming to your event or they want to see your demo or what have you. But, with a little bit of forethought, certainly a basic content marketing metric, and the one that probably would, play well best in the C-suite or, when you're looking for an enhanced budget or renewed budget, is to say that this stuff's getting us leads. So you could probably do that falling a little bit short of getting into like heavy duty marketing automation and CRM, and so without getting too deep into it, I think, that belongs on your dashboard, your definition of leads and, are they going up? How often do you get them? What channels are they coming from?
Well done. You kind of tiptoed around it, right? What Barry just alluded to there is the fact that I just don't understand why people call an email address a lead. The lead magnets, and I get that, and like the whole idea of marketing automation, and someone like landed on the page because they wanted to learn about, how to make red velvet cupcakes, and they entered their email address so they could download a recipe. That doesn't mean that they need your services or products, right? I think I'm an old school marketer who believes that a lead is someone who raised their hand and said that I am looking for your product or service. Please contact me because I need your help. I am someone who you can solve my problem with commercial activity. That's a lead. It's demand. And the whole HubSpot definition of a lead, I think, is ridiculous. It makes no sense to me because, if your competitor fills out downloads a white paper on your website, well, now your competitor is a business lead. That is ridiculous.
Well, if you could pass this along, and it wouldn't have to be to HubSpot, because they don't do this, but if you could pass this along to all of the companies who call me 5 minutes after I downloaded their white paper.
Yeah, what is that doing?
What do you think of our white paper? How can I help you? It's like, dude, I don't even, it was 5 minutes ago. I haven't even got back to my email since.
That's not even inbound marketing. That's a call center.
Yeah.
Those are basically like sneaky telemarketing companies.
But I'm going to jab back once here, Andy. You see where there's traffic, there's hope. I'm going to say where there's email subscribers, there's hope. So, I'm not calling that a lead, but I'm saying, somebody else is entitled to if they want to.
Valid point. It's mostly semantics. Call it something else. An email address is valuable. I was raving about email addresses a minute ago. I just don't like the term leads for that. So yeah, so what's the metric? The metric is webinar registrants, event registrants, there are downloaders. Like, these are great things. These are good things for your marketing. These are micro conversions, and we like them. The visitor took an action. That's a good thing. I just think that a lead is, because everyone now calls that leads, we all have to change our definition of leads. When you're talking about a real lead, you're talking about a MQL, like a marketing qualified lead or a sales qualified lead. So I'm mostly just bickering over terms here, but maybe some of the listeners take the point.
Yeah. All right. So the 10th thing on our list is less quantifiable and more qualitative. But some people count this, which is feedback, and you can get feedback in terms of social media. People talking back saying, "I love this," and complimenting you or contacting you directly. You could get feedback, of course, on your blog if you post comments, and sometimes you get feedback on email and phone calls and forums and reviews and so forth. So I think, the people that say that that's a content marketing metric are right. I think you can, it's the slipperiest of them all, but it might be the most valuable of them all in terms of making you a better content marketer.
Yeah, I mean, qualitative is valuable. Talk to your peeps. Listen to your fans. Listen to your detractors. Hug your haters. It's really really important for all of us to be out there with our actual physical human ears open, because it's you don't have to listen too hard or look too far before you can find someone who's mentioning something. It's one of the beautiful things about the era we live in. And never miss a chance if you're in person to ask a follow-up question or go deeper. Someone says, hey, I really liked that thing. What do you do? What did you like about it? Tell me more. Was it the format? Did you like that topic? What part of that thing did you like? That kind of that. If you don't miss the opportunity to go slightly deeper and listen more, be an active listener when gathering feedback, because people are very open in sharing it when they see that you're truly interested in hearing what they have to say.
Thus concludes 10 content marketing metrics that we hope will at least encourage you to measure.
Yeah. What's next? It's time for Cheese and Mousetraps.
That's right, it is. And so cheese tip, I'll keep it brief here. I think, a lot of what we talked about, Andy endorsed me for the millionth time about my headline writing skills. But, though you're probably writing multiple headlines before you decide what your blog post or infographic or ebook is called, you might not have got it right. And so and it's a good idea to accept the idea that your headlines are not set in stone just because you hit publish or just because you made a PDF or so forth. And when it comes to measuring them, the feedback that you might get from, first of all, maybe before you publish, from like these headline analyzer tests, and then later from social shares, or maybe feedback you got as a result of your Google Analytics, click-through rates, and then there's what else? Did I say email? Yeah, I guess in many ways, like one company I'm thinking of in particular, they don't decide what their headline is and let it stick until they've tweeted multiple headlines about the same story and gathered click-through rates from that. And so, just to wrap this up, I want to say that a content marketing tip to better improve some of these metrics is going to be to reconsider and sometimes even redo your headlines.
Yeah, I love it. And now it's my turn for a mousetrap tip, which is on the conversion side. This is not as obvious as you'd think. I think a lot of people fail to go one level deeper, and it's a little bit of analytic stuff here where, not surprising, every time the most insightful data is one level deeper than whatever report you're looking at. So if you're thinking about traffic, which we said at the top, website traffic is the best, is one of the first and most important content marketing metrics. Different traffic sources will have different conversion rates. So the percentage of people who register for that, webinar, download that white paper, or subscribe to your newsletter, or become a lead, the conversion rates for every one of those different goals will vary across every one of those different sources of traffic. So when you're thinking about conversion rates, take a look at the channels report and ask yourself, set the goal on the far right in analytics, or just look closely at your data and see people from which channel are most likely to take which action. And you may find it's very common, right? It only takes a few minutes, but you can find that people from certain channels are more likely or less likely to take certain actions. Drill down into the channel, for example, social. Now you're looking at every different social network, and people from different social networks are more and less likely to take specific actions. So really, if you're doing conversion optimization and you're trying to build a better mousetrap, you should be going down into the specific sources of traffic and taking a good look at what's working and what's not working against each goal in each specific channel. Make sense?
Oh, yeah. Good stuff. I think that's probably a little easier than it may sound, and it's way valuable.
Yeah, good.
All right, so in a couple of weeks, we will reconvene and do the next episode of Content Marketing. Content Matters, that mousetrap cheese thing we do. And we're going to talk, I like this topic because I published a book about it about 6 weeks ago called The Road to Recognition, and the topic is personal branding. And so we will look at insights from that book and how Andy and I have managed our personal brands in the makings of our company, and with an emphasis on content. And no less than half of my book is about accelerating your personal success or your success in digital media through content creation.
Great topic, important topic. Looking forward to it, partner.
It's gonna take a little time.
All right. Thank you for listening. Thanks for being here with me, my friend Andy Crestadina.
Anytime.